Okay, hi, I'm Dan Wakely of Conservation Studio from Rangers Conservation Studio representing our ceiling conservation model project. Which, for example, was included on Route 1 heritage register for its architectural and historical significance to the setting for it, particularly for its association with two common urban architects, its fine interiors, and as a representation of the local government library and hopefully the 90s.
We did a lot of investigation into the past history of the building and changes that occurred with time, which were influential on work in the into its spaces. Key dates to note probably in 1913, major renovation of the hall, including the sleeve-shaped development. That changed a lot of the interiors being pitched by the latter 50s before they were painted over, but then sort of loosely restated in the 1950s. Other key changes in that reporting is mesh plastic ceiling work put in the fronts of change.
So our project following a conditions assessment before we phase including the stabilisation of 24 ceilings throughout Fitzroy Town Hall. We adopted very specific methodologies for that conservation work based on the bar chart principles and the right-hand side of the screen. They also included structural stabilisation in termite and not damage to roof trusses. And installation of a siphonic stormwater system, both of which then facilitated conservation work subsequently. Here are some of the stabilisation methodologies that we adopted. Depending on the location of the ceilings within the building, ground floor quite frequently adopted mechanical pitting, which is the best method for not using covering from above. And on the right-hand side, you see the West Ox RAP system being applied, which is part of the system. That was used at the mayor's meeting room here, where you see quite a decorative scheme and mechanically clean from the wind was not going to be large. The West Ox treatment requires cleaning out of the ceiling from above, application, and popping from below. And then that allowed us to break out the minor cracks we were using the lime mix and then include paint, which was what we came to as the most minimalist approach to this ceiling.
We were doing some works on the council chamber. Part of that scope of work was to fix panels of fibrous plaster that had been water damaged. However, once we started taking out the water damaged panels, we started to find the original paper ceiling, which we known to be there, but we also found that it was extensively damaged by mould. After this, we discussed with council that we can't really just reinstate the ceiling that very good, so we need to go for mould. There's a lot of mould bacteria presently there, which means that it's active. And we went through the process of removing the rest of the 1940s fibrous plaster ceiling to get back to the 1870s paper ceiling. We then went through a process of decontaminating where we had to remove approximately 50% of the ceiling, which was incredibly deteriorated or where mould had completely blown through it. And this was done in consultation with conservatives to make sure that we were retaining as much of the original ceiling as possibly could and only removing what happened. But then you end up with the result on the right where we have what was left over due to the ceiling decontamination. We worked very closely with hygienists to work out ways of removing surface mould from the timber lining boards with the original. They originally wanted to completely remove them and we came to agreement that we could sand the surface without getting mould. The root problem, obviously we've got active mould. We started looking at the internalised guttering system. We had a very, very heavy downpour one February 2 years ago and it flooded back into the ceiling. And we realised that the internal box gutters that carried the front to the back of the building, picking up two box gutters, were overflowing in heavy rain events. So this is when we thought that perhaps we need to investigate an alternative system. We brought in a siphonic system, which is usually used for high areas of water, but in this case, we're using it to provide a flow system that we know we need to build. Also gave us the opportunity to bring in an overflow system for compliance, which otherwise could not be done. Then we embarked on conservation work. So we worked with ICS conservators. They did an enormous amount of building, stabilising, using parallel B52 to be here parts on ceiling. Using a starch-based paste, they started getting crack cleared right here, which they even baked to get to the right colour, back to the red basic colour of the paper so that when they start to fill painting over it, we can come together. And then we worked with some trades, some specialist trades to reinstate the missing part of the ceiling using completely traditional techniques. So we put the hessian back on, we put paper layers over that, then through a process of very carefully matching all the colours. And then ICS went through a major consolidation process of spraying and sealing with the final into that. Did a lot of infill with pastels. And then this is the finished product. We also reinstated the original wall colours on here, which were previously different. And you can see quite clearly the difference between what is a restored ceiling and what's a reinstated element compared to what is the original fabric. So it's very honest material composition, what used to be
So the key public space at Fitzroy Town Hall is the main hall, which is used for public events. Above in the roof were the timber roof trusses were affected heavily by barbecue termite damage. And we were planning to both resurface the ceiling and the site had been replaced previously. So access into that space was very limited, and working with construction engineer, we came up with the solution that you can see installed on the right-hand side, where each piece was designed to be small enough to be planning ending into the space and then connecting together. So that then allowed us not to have to damage and enter through the ceiling of the roof. And that then facilitated our conservation works. Where you can see in the top right-hand side, large plaster moulding is need to form based on the block in timber roof trusses, and large bits of plaster fall to the ground. We could have used the stabilisation methods that I discussed previously because of the depth of plaster work. So we formulated a copper stitching method where pre-drill holes would go through into the roof cavity, and copper could be threaded and tied around the timber roof structure. During the work, the specialist contractor actually found instances of this as the original construction methodology at either end of large tunnels being built on the ground. And that was kind of the morning.
So this gave us the opportunity to look at the colour scheme that was there and go through a process of reassessing it. We did an enormous amount of paint sample analysis to the point where we were looking at cross-section, pigments, paints, pigments and cross-section, really difficult to ascertain the correct colour. And so we went through a process of stripping back, and you can see some samples of what up the top, some stuff here on the wall, looking at all the different stencil schemes that we knew that were there, and then started matching colours out of that and found that the original scheme was miles off. We documented stencil work and all the sorts of bits and pieces that were there for future records, so they'll help to get state funding, which they really like to do. We can reinstate some of that over the uncovering, and then we put back the very base of the colour scheme as the fountain ground. That's the before, the after, and that's the end result. So largely our work.